All right. So welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Like with any of these things, you never know who's going to show up, if anybody. So I'm always appreciative of people taking the time out to be here. I see lots of familiar people, which is wonderful, and new people as well. And some people that I can't tell who you are because you're just identified as a caller to me. For those of you that are on the phone, I will be sharing a number of visuals. I'll talk through those visuals, so hopefully they'll make sense to you as you're just listening in, but the video will be available afterwards, so if you want to go back and reference anything specifically, you can do that. Like I mentioned, all of this is being recorded. So any of your conversation, any of that will be part of the recording. So if there's something you want to share offline, you're welcome to do that. But know that anything during the course of the webinar will be shared publicly after the webinar. So again, thank you for being here. Look forward to sharing with you a bit about the Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network and the vision and the progress that's being made. So I'm going to do a couple of things. One is I'm going to save you need to continue looking at me and just switch to my screen view. So you should all be able to see my screen at this point. And if you're not already muted, if you would do that, just to make sure we don't get any feedback, and there'll be time for questions where you can come back in a little bit later. Here's the plan for the webinar. I'm planning to keep this pretty short, just to give a quick kind of background and get us started. So a little bit of background on the Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network, a little bit about the process that led to us developing the mission and vision of the center, or of the network, sorry, using this VMCL process, which I'll talk about. Then I'll get into a little bit more detail of the mission and vision of the network, and talk about how you can get involved with the Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network if you haven't been already, and then a little bit of question answer discussion depending on what you all want to jump into there. So with that real brief background, the Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network really grew out of an existing water education network that existed in the state for quite a while that was primarily focused on K-12 environmental education. And when I came on board as the Wisconsin ThinkWater coordinator, I talked with the folks who had been involved in that educator network and pitched the idea of expanding and growing the network, kind of reframing what the network was, which grew into this Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network. And the reason for that was really an opportunity to be more inclusive in our thinking about who's involved in community engagement around water, and that, of course, it wasn't just K-12, but there were very broad efforts within nonprofit organizations, within businesses, within agencies, individuals involved in these efforts. So we held a kickoff event in March. Many of you were there, and that kind of got us started. The purpose of that kickoff event was to think about what would the purpose of this network be, what do we want to do as part of this network, and we've spent the last few months kind of growing from there. We have a leadership team that's been helping to develop the network, and you see the folks listed here. And the amazing thing about this group, amazing group of people, and I think, most important, they represent a broad range of geographies across the state, programmatic efforts, organizations across the state, that's really meant to be representative of the diverse community engagement strategies and efforts that are existing in the state. So these folks have been amazing. Some of you are on the webinar here, but really in helping to develop the vision and mission and work within the Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network. Point out a couple of things about this effort. The Wisconsin Environmental Education Foundation has been providing some support. They received a grant through the Wisconsin Environmental Education Board to provide support for the leader, specifically the leadership team, and more broadly the network. And then ThinkWater, and my role in here has been supported by the ThinkWater funding, which comes from USDA. So that's what's enabled us to continue with these efforts. So with that, we'll get into a little bit of the vision and mission and the process that we used. So the leadership team used a systems thinking approach to developing vision and mission called VMCL. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I'll just briefly touch on this. VMCL stands for Vision, Mission, Capacity, and Culture and Learning. The C is a double C. And it is an effort to build an adaptive and evolving organization. And I'll go into the specifics when we get into the vision and mission of the network. But all of these pieces are interrelated. The vision is meant to, communicate a desired future state. The mission is the things that the organization or the network does. The capacity and the culture are the ability to do that mission, and the learning helps us to continue to build the capacity to do that. There's a lot more about this kind of approach and more details that you can access. This was developed by the Cabreras and the Cabrera Research Lab, which is the basis of a bunch of the ThinkWater efforts, and I'll be talking more about that on our next webinar. But if you're interested in this kind of work, which is a really powerful way to develop organizations that are adaptive and empowering, I'm happy to share more information about that as we move ahead. So that brings us to the specific vision and mission of the Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network. And the vision that we've developed is a state of engaged water thinkers, and the mission is to create, connect, and share water community engagement strategies and resources. And I'll dig into these a little bit, but what's really exciting to me about the vision and mission of Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network is that it's both provocative in that it's it is immediately kind of engaging and exciting to think about, a little bit mysterious about what all those things mean, but it's also, or I should say, and it's also kind of a large net that captures the work within the network itself, but also that all of our individual efforts can fit into and be part of helping to bring about this vision by enacting this mission on a daily basis. So the leadership team drafted these pieces, spent the summer working on vision and mission, and that's been shared out, and feedback has been taken in, and this is the point that we're at right now. One thing I'll say about vision and mission is that it's an ongoing process, and that will continue to evolve that. But I want to get into just a few of the details about this to make a little bit more sense of what these things mean. So I'm going to share a MetaMap with you, and MetaMap is a mapping tool also developed by Cabrera Labs. It's a systems thinking based mapping tool, amazingly powerful. I'll show you some of the features of it, but this is something that you have access to for free through the ThinkWater. And as we go through this, you'll get a sense of some of its power, but in the future we can spend more time with this. But you see our vision, mission, culture, and learning map up on the screen. And as I talked about, the vision and mission is stated here. We get to see the relationships between these ideas. The vision statement is meant to be a binary situation in the future. Binary meaning it either exists or it doesn't. It's a yes or no kind of thing. And we should be able to know if the vision is achieved in the future. The mission is meant to be simple rules that we can follow on a daily basis, that if we do those things, they should bring about the vision. And so I want to spend a little bit of time kind of deconstructing these a little bit, breaking them down a little bit. I'll touch on the capacity and culture pieces and the learning real briefly, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. So if we look at this statement that our vision is a state of engaged water thinkers, the question is, what do those things mean? And so the model here is meant to give us a little bit more kind of detail in what those things mean. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see them all right. So if we look at the pieces of this statement, state of engaged water thinkers, what do we mean by those things? A state, we mean Wisconsin, of course, in many ways. Also, a state is kind of a condition. So we're looking at a condition within the state of Wisconsin of being water thinkers. And what do we mean by engaged water thinkers? And to me, I think this is the most powerful piece of our vision statement. And by engaged water thinkers, we mean that people have the knowledge, the skills to be civically engaged and are civically engaged around water. And so our focus is on these three pieces, of developing these three pieces in people. Knowledge, I'm going to talk more about this on a webinar next month, but by knowledge, there's an important distinction there, that we're saying that knowledge isn't equated to information, that knowledge is actually constructed understanding of the world that's built using information, but also utilizing thinking. Skills are actionable knowledge, and then civic engagement is being engaged, in some way in water. And there's a relationship between these pieces. That knowledge helps to develop skills. Through knowledge, you're able to build skills. Those skills make action possible, the civic engagement possible, and through civic engagement, we continue to build knowledge. An important piece to mention here is that this community engagement isn't the same as activism in this way, in that activism is a kind of specific, directed, or identified action. We're saying that we're not identifying the action that people are taking. We're helping to build the knowledge and skills for people to be active, but the choice and how they're being active is completely up to them. We're not identifying that, except saying that we believe it's important that people are involved in taking care of their water. Right? So that is the vision at this point. The mission, which is, as I mentioned, those simple rules that help us to build towards that vision, also broken down. So create, connect, and share water community engagement strategies and resources. What do we mean by those things? Create, connect, and share, pretty straightforward. Create means we might be developing things within the network or individually. Those could be curriculum materials, those could be gatherings, those could be trainings, such as this webinar. Connecting is just the way that we're connecting with each other, so the number of people that are involved. And sharing is the process of sharing with each other. What do we mean by water community engagement? And this is the key piece. We actually spent a lot of time as a leadership team trying to figure out what do we mean by these terms, and specifically what is it that's of interest to the network that is inclusive enough and captures this idea that we want to engage people, that education and outreach may generally be the idea that we're thinking of, but it needs to be more inclusive than that. So we developed this and are using this language of water community engagement. And what we mean by water community engagement is that we're building knowledge, skills, and civic engagement around caring for water in, again, whatever ways people identify. So this is the mirror of what a water thinker is. And water community engagement also involves community partnerships. And the important part of this is that we believe that community engagement isn't done to someone or to an organization, but it's done with. And the important parts of that are building individual capacity, which is development of knowledge and skills, but that relates to relational capacity with each other, and then helps to develop organizational capacity so that organizations can be adaptive. So that's what we mean by community engagement. So going back to this a little bit, so you see that water community engagement. And then the final piece of that is, what do we mean by strategies and resources? Again, that's pretty straightforward. That could be all of the things that we're sharing, using, and again, those are potentially specific things that are developed within the network, but they're also developed by the individuals in the network. So again, I think the important part here is that the network, this is a true network in that there are collective efforts of the network, but there are also lots of individual efforts that contribute towards that, and we can all kind of find our role within that network. So I just want to touch on real quick these last two pieces, and then talk about how we can all be creating, connecting, and sharing within the network. Some of the capacity systems, again, I'm not going to spend much time here. You know, our culture, part of this is developing a shared language around water community engagement, which we're helping to do through this webinar. But part of this is just how we relate to each other, and we've identified the 4 agreements. You can go and look those up, but these are just general good behaviors towards each other, that we trust each other, honest with each other, honest with ourselves, and things like that. And then we have a bunch of systems that allow us to do the work that we want to do to work on our mission. Those are communication systems, membership systems. Our membership system is pretty simple in that everyone who is committed to the vision and mission are welcome as members of the WWTN, and really are, even if they don't identify themselves as members, are considered members of the network. And then just a real simple piece on learning, just to note that this is an essential part of what we do. All of us are continuously learning. This little model down here is about our mental models and their relationship to reality. You can go in and this whole graphic is posted on the WGIO page, so you can take a look at this. But all of us hold mental models that are some representation of reality, and we're continuously trying to improve those. And that's true for the network as a whole. We're in the process of learning that develops our capacity, that helps us to better our mission, which leads to our vision. So we're continuously seeking and accepting feedback on how we're doing. And as a result, all of this will probably, evolve through time. So that was real quick overview of all those pieces. Again, that whole image is posted on the WGIO group, so you can go in there and play with that in more detail. If you're really interested in getting into this, you're welcome to sign up for MetaMap. You see the address up here, metamap.me, and I can share that this map with you once you're in there. But I want to wrap up with just opportunities for all of us to be involved in creating, connecting, and sharing through the network. I mentioned the WGIO group. Many of you are part of that group. WGIO provides us an opportunity to share resources, so it shares, holds files, has a shared calendar for us to use, which I really encourage everybody to use so that we know what else is going on in the state. At this point, the Wisconsin Environmental Education Foundation is taking anything that's posted on the WGIO calendar and also posting that on in Wisconsin, so you get a 2-for-1 at this point. And it also allows us to have ongoing conversation about things that are going on. We have a Facebook group, Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network. So if you're on Facebook, encourage you to join that and continue to share ideas and resources. We are in initial stages of another face-to-face gathering, in-person gathering. That's going to be held on World Water Day, which is March 22nd. That's a Wednesday. And we're just getting started with some of the details. If you're interested in helping to plan that, let me know. Otherwise, you can watch for more information that comes up as that comes up. Local networks. We have a network forming in Milwaukee that's kind of a subgroup of the Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network. We have support available for any other local networks that are interested in getting together through that Wisconsin Environmental Education Board grant. We have a little bit of travel funding to support those efforts. If you're interested, I'm happy to help organize that. And then finally, future webinars. We've scheduled these now through next summer to do a webinar at the end of each month on Wednesdays, the last Wednesday of each month, with the exceptions of December and March when we'll do the gathering. But I'll continue to send those out. The next webinar is October 26th, same time and same strategy using this GoToMeeting site. And I'll be talking about systems thinking, water community engagement. I'll be introducing that, and then we'll go from there. So lots of opportunities to be involved. I am, and the leadership team and everybody else involved is excited to have more folks involved and continue to grow this network. I'll just kind of restate this, that the network is really a grassroots effort. Obviously, I'm putting some time into this, and the leadership team has been putting some time into building the network, but really the network strength is all of us as individuals working within our programs and organizations to do this work. So that the network is here to support your work and continue to evolve the work that we do within water community engagement. So encourage you to get involved, start conversations, ask questions, all of those kind of things. So with that, I'm happy to open it up for ideas, questions, thoughts, any of those things. Leadership group, if there's anything you want to specifically add about any of these pieces, you're welcome to do so, but everyone's really welcome to jump in with questions at this point, whether you do that by the audio feature or if you type into the chat box, you're welcome to do that. So let's leave it open here for a few minutes for any questions, comments.
I think we froze.
What was that? All right, a couple of questions coming in through chat that I'll ask. Any help the leadership team feels they need or want over the next 6 months to a year? I think the biggest thing that I see, and other leadership team members obviously jump in if you see other things, but the event on March 22nd, if you're interested in helping to plan that, we see that as, you know, networking opportunities. So we'll be sharing efforts and building our capacity there. So we're always happy to have more help in organizing that. Tentatively, we are looking at Green Lake or Milwaukee for that, so somewhere a little bit south, but we're still kind of working on details there. Another question is anybody at are going to be involved with the Water Council's ICE Institute, Innovation Commercialization Exchange. I think there's an opportunity to do that, Andrew. I don't know of anything specific, but if you want to share more information on the WGEO group, that would be awesome. And if there's anyone specifically attending that, it'd be great to learn more about that. So I assume that's in Milwaukee coming up soon. All right, and then a question about the local networks. So right now the Milwaukee network is forming. We've identified a couple of facilitators to basically do that work, and the primary focus really within those networks is at least initially to begin just building relationships there. We find that there are a lot of things going on that people in the same general community or region don't even know about. So we held one gathering in Milwaukee. There'll be another one coming up. So the general idea is just to get people together to start sharing what they're working on. I'm available to support that, whether that's me attending meetings or just helping someone to plan and connect with people. I have a list of several hundred people who are involved in water community engagement efforts across the state that I've been collecting over the past year and beyond. So it's really important to have a local facilitator from my standpoint to be able to just bring people together on a consistent basis, and maybe that's quarterly or maybe that's annually or whatever it might be. But the effort there is just to get people together and see what the needs and interests are. So hopefully that answered that, Nancy. If you want more, you can kind of let me know. And Rebecca is asking about networks and how you monitor the success of this. This is a great question. We are really fortunate to have, through ThinkWater, an evaluator who's specifically looking at the Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network and the impact that it's having. And so we're using a systems evaluation approach. We're just kind of starting to get into that at this point of understanding what that might look like. And that is something that we'll be sharing kind of as we move forward. But it's obviously challenging to monitor and evaluate networks in some ways, in that the efforts are not centralized. They're diffuse by design, and it's often hard to track what might have had an impact on who or what at any given time. But there are strategies to do that. If anyone is interested in evaluation from a systems perspective, or specifically looking at networks, Courtney Robinson is the person who's working on that for us, along with Jennifer Kushner within Extension. There's opportunity to be involved in those conversations to see how that develops, and obviously to be involved in the evaluation efforts. But yeah, that's a really key question, Rebecca, and we're working on it and getting close to the point of having some specific strategies. We've been kind of mapping out kind of overarching broad-based questions and ideas right now, including some pretty interesting systems-based approaches to those, and understanding efforts and effects. So more on that to come. Some more comments. Andrew's following up about the ICE network. So or the ICE effort. So that's in Milwaukee. We'll post something on the WGEO group about that. Maybe Andrew, if you'd be willing to post that on WGEO, that would be great. And some folks interested in evaluation. Yeah, the WGEO group. A couple of ways to get involved in the WGEO group. If you do a search on EE in Wisconsin for the Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network, so einwisconsin.org. You can sign up for the Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network there. You can also just send me an email, and that's jeremy.solin, S-O-L-I-N, at ces.uwex.edu. So I'll just type that into chat so you all have that. But I can add you to the list directly. You can send me a Facebook message. However it is you want to get a hold of me, you can do that, and I can add you to the list. All right. Any other questions? All right, and the link to the EE in Wisconsin, Wisconsin Water Thinkers Network page is there to sign up in the chat box as well, so you can check that out. All right. Well, it looks like we've, I think, captured a bunch of the questions. So I'll just say in wrapping up, again, thank you for being here. I know a number of people are going to watch this afterwards too, so it's great to get this started, and I appreciate having a live audience to join us as well. And I think, you know, again, the network is going to be as powerful as we all want it to be and make it to be. I think there's a ton of potential. I'm excited to see how this develops, and look forward to your involvement in that. So with that, have a good rest of the day and rest of the week. Happy fall, and we'll be in touch soon, and plan to join us again at the end of October. Take care.